Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show. The economy is in rough shape right now. We all know that. Unemployment is rising, inflation sky high, and the Trump administration's taco tariffs are only making the situation worse. The media industry has been hit particularly hard. Every day I see headlines about layoffs, declining viewership, on consolidation, but there are exceptions, and that's independent media. Independent media is killing it right now. It's having a moment. The Don Lemon Show is on fire. I mean, if you talk to the people who are watching, we'll discuss that with my next guest. And my guest today is also killing the media game. I'm so happy to have Ashley Allison on. She's a political strategist and communications expert. She is a former senior staffer in the Obama and Biden administrations, and she is the founder of Watering Hole Media, the company that just acquired the digital media outlet, The Root. And I could not be prouder of her. She is an old colleague and a friend. Ashley, good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We were saying I'm tired because it's been a big week. I'm excited. I'm humbled. I am overjoyed. I'm really just ready for this moment and excited to be the new owner of The Root. Thanks for
So,
having me too, Don.
well, thank you for doing what you do. So, having said that, congratulations. I'm really excited for you. You already know you're very pragmatic. You know that this is going to be tough work. You said to me, now the hard work begins. Why in this economy? I'm sure people asked you why in this media environment did you want to buy a media company? Why are you wanting to buy and run The Root?
Well, look, I come from a family of storytellers. My father used to write for the Black newspaper in our hometown. I recently learned one of my great uncles was part owner of the Colin Post, which is a Black newspaper. And media and storytelling is essential to the Black community. And historically, we have had publications like Ebony and Jet and Essence that really tell our story from our perspective. And when The Root was founded in 2008, it was really one of its first of its kind for Black media. It was a digital first publication. And right now, with independent media, digital first, social media is how most people get their news. I understand there might be challenges, but I also see great opportunity here, particularly in the moment that we are in, being able to tell our stories as Black people.
Amen to that. When you said it was, I think it was revolutionary for the digital moment to be, a digital, right, media
Yeah.
space, and but now it's having to evolve, and I think you're going to bring it into the present and into the future. Did it lose its way somehow? Was it not able to keep up? Like, what happened with The Root? Because, man, if you got a notice saying you're being honored as one of the Root 100, you'd be
I
like, yeah,
know.
shit, I've made it, right? You know what I'm saying? And so can we
Yes.
bring that back?
It's back. It's here. It's ready. We are going to do the Route 100 this year. I always wanted to be on the Route 100. And I actually learned some strategy about what type of jobs I should get in politics from studying people that were on the Route 100. So the Route is just such a part of my story. I'm so excited now I can be a part of it. But let's just talk about like when the Route was started. 2008, the election of the first Black president,
Right.
Barack Obama. He uses digital first really to get elected, social media, getting small donors. And so Henry Louis Gates, someone who is also in relationship with Barack Obama, starts it with Donald Graham at the Washington Post. Like I said, first of its time, revolutionary. Since then, it has had different owners. It's been sold to Univision. We just bought it from Geo Media. And each owner, because of the time and when they actually owned it, had their own vision. Our vision for the Root right now is to go, as Professor Gates said, take it back to its roots. Be a place where you can get news of the day, political commentary, understand what's happening in the culture. One of the things that's so powerful about the Root is that it is keen to the written word. But with all of the articles that we write, we also want to bring some video components into it, amplify on our social media, really engage with our audience. We have such a loyal following, and they're so excited to get a fresh perspective now that it's under new ownership, and particularly Black ownership telling Black stories, that I just think that the time is right. It was gutsy, but why not,
Yeah. Thank you. It's a gutsy move. And, um, things don't, when you take a big swing, I think sometimes that's the best way to do it and it pays off. I can say that because I took a big swing and people are like, are you crazy? You're going to do a media company starting? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And so if I fail, so what? At least I tried, right?
That's
So
right.
What I've learned in this independent media game, and not that independent because you're your own company, your own corporation, but somewhat you're not a huge conglomeration, right? You're not a
That's
huge,
right.
big corporate company. Is that you can't be all things to all people, and that happens even with big companies like ABC, CBS, NBC, whatever. When you try to be all things to all people, then I don't think that there's not a connection, a real connection that is made. So, what is uniquely valuable? You think about the Roots brand and you're not going to try to be all things to all people, right?
No, no, we are not. We are going a couple of things that we're going to focus on. One, uh throughout my career, I like to move with intention, with stability for the long game, right? I don't want to make massive changes right now because we have a loyal audience. What I actually want to do is hear from them. We're going to be asking our followers. We get about 15 million people to visit our website every month, which is, yeah, Matt, we have 4 million people that follow us across social media platforms. That's a
Wow.
massive audience. And I want them to, one, know I'm grateful for their loyalty over the years, know that I don't take them for granted. And I want to hear from them. Like, what do you want to be reading? What would keep you subscribing? What would keep you sharing things on the route? So that's the first thing is we're going to go through a listening exercise. But we do find ourselves in this moment where so much is happening, and I always say Black culture sets American culture, and American culture sets global culture. And so I think one of the things that we really want to be keen on at the root is helping Black people through the Black lens make sense of every moment that we find ourselves in, particularly in politics and culture. And I think if we do that, that is a very intentional lane. It can span across generations, it can span across geography. But the other thing I want to just be really clear on is that we often say, we talk about this in politics. Black people are not a monolith, and you're not going to get a monolithic perspective from the root. It would be disingenuous to pretend like we all think about every issue the same way. So we also want to provide an opportunity to hear from commentary and from reporters that might look at something from a different perspective, but really focusing on how we are making sense of this moment through the lens of Black people.
Thank you for that. So, what have you're coming at this with fresh eyes, right?
Mhm.
Um, is there anything that you've learned about what's happening in the media space now, so in sort of the digital space, that you can share with our audience? Because I was in legacy corporate media for a long time, and when you're in that, you sort of operate in that space. You do what company A wants, you do what company B wants, or whatever it is. But then you step outside of it, and look back. I've gained more of a perspective about what works and what doesn't, and what people want to see and what they don't want to see, and what's interesting to people. What is that for you? What is your dream vision of the route from what you have learned from being an outside observer now coming in with fresh eyes?
Well, first, I want the route to be what it was for me, which is a blueprint on how to become aspirational in your career, how to make sense of the moment. It did that for me for much of my professional career. And I think we have a whole new generation of folks coming behind us that also are trying to make sense of the moment. But the way I'm thinking about this as a leader is how I try and approach most of my careers. I've been a teacher, I've been a journalist, I've been a government official, I've been an organizer, and it really is a couple of management principles. One is don't be too precious about any idea. We have to test, fail, test, grow. Like if it doesn't work, it's not an indictment on your
Right.
ability to lead, but it's you take it as a learning experience.
But if you have
I
an
said
idea and it doesn't work, just stop and do another. Have a better
do another
idea.
another idea.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I said this the day after we announced it was we announced last week, and I said this to the readers in a letter that I wrote the day after the announcement, is that we will not be perfect and we will not get anything right, but we will have a standard of excellence because
Yeah.
you deserve it as our reader. Black people deserve it as a publication that we sponsor Black people. So I have a standard of excellence that we want to uphold. I'm not too precious about any idea. I'm not going to take it personal. If we do something that you don't like, it's okay. That's what we need to have a conversation about and be in dialogue that makes you iron sharpens iron. And the other thing I think that is really a good opportunity here is partnership. Like what you're doing is amazing, Dawn. And there's so many independent media outlets that are doing amazing things. And so I'm not in competition with anyone. I want to be in partnership and collaboration with folks, because I do think when we work together, we are stronger.
Are you listening to me? Because I say that all the time. I tell
Well,
everyone, I tell
well,
Joy, everyone, I'm not in competition with you guys. We're all stronger together.
we're
And
that's
in this
right.
space,
That's right.
I'm not a bigger name than you are, a bigger we need to stop. We can't do that because
And honestly, when your text was amazing. Text I got from Joy was amazing. Text from I got so many congratulatory messages from people I know and people I don't know who are excited and proud that we're able to take ownership over something.
Mhm.
And the most inspiring thing, the reason why I'm really so tired is because I want everyone who reaches out to me, I want to respond to them because I don't take their congratulations and support for granted, but it is the offering of support that I have received. How can we help you? How can we support you? And that is what we actually need in this moment. And all
Mhm.
the naysayers out there, which there aren't many of them, I actually haven't gotten any bad feedback from this acquisition, but we can do this together. We're stronger together. Iron sharpens iron. We can bounce ideas off of each other. And I think that's where we're headed in this direction collectively as independent media.
So there's no roadmap, as you know, right?
No.
There's no roadmap, and especially for creators and independent media folks, independent journalists of color. Like you've got, I think it's Red Seed Ventures or whatever, and they've got all the white streamers or the conservatives, and they're doing their thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're centered or on the left or whatever, that just does not exist. None of that exists. And I can tell you, in these spaces, the people who are the most outlandish, the really far to the right or whatever, or far to the left, those folks get the sponsorships, all the ad dollars, promotion, and whatever. And then the rest is kind of left to us. And so I am. You're inspiring me because I think that there is a huge, huge void, especially among Black ownership in this industry right now, especially in the new streaming space. I look at it as an opportunity. This comes from it,
Absolutely.
right? I have as the head of NAACP said to me, what Derek Johnson said to me, we need to start operating and instead of what did he say, a
A
mindset
scarcity
of
mindset and an
scarcity
abundance
and
mindset.
a mindset and of abundance, right?
Yes.
And they say, yes,
Yes.
so this is an opportunity. So why is Black ownership? Why is Black media ownership so important?
Well, listen, there are 41 million Black people in this country. Black people have a $2.1 trillion buying power in this. 2.1 trillion with a T buying power.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
50% of the Black population is under 35. We spend as a Black community 32 more percent more on digital platforms than our white counterparts. That's revenue. That's a business opportunity. That is an audience that wants information, that wants access to media and news. And so we're going to offer it to them at the root. So I know that, there are people who worry about the business model of it all. But again, you have to be nimble. You have to be flexible. You have to be open to new ideas. You have to be open to partnerships. Black people buy stuff. Black people can make this economy stronger. You have 15 million people visiting our website monthly. Why wouldn't an advertiser want to come and work with the root?
Mm-hmm.
Our editorial is strong. It's going to get stronger. We have events like the Route 100. Like you said, everybody wants to be on the
Yeah,
Route 100. It's aspirational. And
I'm
here's the
looking at
thing,
you,
right?
Ashley.
I know. It's a lot of pressure, but here's the
I'm
thing
messing with
about
you.
the Route 100. It comes out every year. And
Right.
so if this November you're not on the Route 100, guess what? We'll be around again next year and we'll look at every year the people who are setting culture, breaking trends, and I just see it as a great opportunity, particularly with the spending power of Black people,
Mm-hmm.
why advertisers will come and why there's so much opportunity in independent media.
It's so important in this moment too, because we need to be in community with each other. Media consumption is changing rapidly.
rapidly.
And Americans are getting more and more of their news from TikTok and other short form video platforms. I mean, very few Americans read like, long form stuff or just on a regular basis. It's got to make you sad. So what are you going to do about that with The Root?
It makes me sad, but I think it's a both and. We're still going to write. We are a written publication. We will
Mm-hmm.
have writers, we will have intellectual pieces, we will have that journalistic rigor. But just because you write something doesn't mean you can't also put it on video. And so it is
Mm-hmm.
a both and I think that's how we actually expand our audience. That's how we meet people where they are. If you don't want to read our piece, you can get it in some other form. Maybe it's audio, maybe it's video, maybe it's via text message or email. Maybe it's on TikTok, or maybe it's on Instagram, or maybe it's on Spill, right? So that is why I see there's like so much opportunity, and really understanding our audience, but also understanding the folks who aren't following The Root right now. What would make you a subscriber is part of our business approach.
What makes that? I wonder what you think of the current media environment. Do you think that the consensus out there is that legacy media is dying, corporate media is dying? What do you make of this current media environment?
Like I think there's an opportunity for everyone right now to use social media. I don't think people are not interested in media. I think it is how you distribute your media, which is one of the reasons why we actually wanted to purchase The Root. Watering Hole Media, we create content all the time, but if you don't have a way to distribute the content, or you don't have an audience that's watching the content, then you're kind of just talking to yourself, which is why we actually acquired The Root, because when you have an audience such as 15 million, such as 4 million followers, you want to put good substantive content out there. So I think there's just ample opportunity for independent, for traditional media out there. And I'm excited to see, how we all rise to the occasion.
So I got to talk to you about some current stuff as it relates to the media. In the last several months, we've seen really unprecedented attacks on the First Amendment. We saw what happened. We see what's happening with media companies and being threatened and sued. And so, there's been a lot of attacks on the First Amendment and freedom of the press from the Trump administration. Are you nervous to get into this media game now? And how are you going to handle that? Because you're going to be the head of a company that this administration may target for something that they don't like that you published.
Well, I don't move in fear in any way I do in my life. I move in authenticity. And so I think that's what we want to make sure our audience knows at The Root, is that we will be authentic. We will anchor our stories on facts, on truth, on data and science. There will be commentary, but there will be commentary. Like I said, we're not a monolith. So everything that somebody puts in The Root, you might not agree with, but it is to make you think. And that is the beauty of the First Amendment. That is the beauty of our democracy, is that you can have, I do not become a better person, a better thinker, a better intellectual by only listening to people
You
that
agree
agree with
with?
me.
Yeah.
I become stronger when I have a conversation, when I have a back and forth, when I get a perspective that makes me think. It might not change my mind, but making me think makes my
Mm-hmm.
then perspective more rigorous. And I'm a former teacher. That's actually how you teach students how to debate, how to have a conversation, is that you give them a host of ideas and you say, make an argument around it. And that's what we're going to do at The Root. And I think that it's just going to be rooted in truth and facts and authenticity.
Well, when I was coming along, we had history, right, and that taught us about the Constitution, et cetera. But then we also had civics, which taught us how we're supposed to have a relationship with our government, and how our government is supposed to operate. So, I say that to ask you about, again, this current environment. Do you think that this president is the most anti-free speech president that we've ever had?
Don, I'm not going to have a commentary. Y'all have to turn on CNN if you want to talk about politics. That's where I do my commentary. But I will say that we are not going to move in fear.
Mm.
At The Root, we are not. We believe in free speech. We believe free speech stays strong when you are committed to doing it. And we are journalists at The Root, and so we will fact check. We will stand by truth. And like I said, we won't always get everything right, but when we get something wrong, we'll acknowledge it. But we will have a standards of excellence, and part of a standard of excellence is protecting the First Amendment.
Ashley, everything is politics right now, right? I mean,
I know.
if you're just sitting here saying, we're black, people think that that's political. So let me ask you this then, and I understand you got to do your thing. Are you concerned about the consolidation of conservative media. I mean, this news about Ellison installing Barry Weiss at CBS News. Billionaires have long owned, for a long time, they've owned media companies, but this feels different to me.
Look, we're in a different age for sure. I mean, quite honestly, the reason why everyone was so excited about the news is because people were surprised that a Black woman bought a media company,
Right.
right? Like that is something different. So what I often say is we can look and observe and identify something that might concern you, or you can take action on it. And so while folks are putting people in different places in different media institutions, I now own my own media institution. And what I have agency over is how we run the route and how we communicate with our audience and how we communicate with Americans and how we speak truth to power. And that is what I'm committed to do. I'll also say that, this is our first acquisition. I don't want this to be our last acquisition. I'm a businesswoman. I'm an entrepreneur. And so I want to learn from this and I want to explore. And sometimes more publications that we buy will be centered in Black folks. But guess what? Sometimes they won't be. Sometimes they will be just health and wellness things or faith-based things or sports-based things. I have an interest in journalism. I have an interest in media. And so we are exploring many, many different various acquisitions beyond just the root.
All right, that's great, but you didn't really answer me. I'm wondering because you said that you learn from people who you don't learn from people you always agree with. So I'm wondering though, because look, we have to be honest, there is a consolidation in media and it's conservative. And it is to everyone who's out there. It's frightening to a lot of people because they're installing people who don't have, big running news background or running media companies. They don't have the resume, the experience, or to do it. And so there is a concern that there is a certain perspective that is allowed to be pushed now in the media. And these billionaires who are owning these media companies, to me, as I said, this feels different. And that's why I'm concerned about the First Amendment. I'm also concerned about antitrust. I understand that you bought a media company. That is great. But you don't have, there aren't antitrust issues with you. You don't own multiple media companies. And that's frightening to a lot of people. And I also think it's why people aren't getting what they want from the news, or not even what they want, what they need to see and hear. I'm hearing that the coverage of what's happening in Chicago and in Portland being suppressed. The news outlets aren't running certain video because they're concerned that the Trump administration is going to come after them. So that's got to be a concern for you, especially as a political commentator, as someone who is a watcher of the news and of the media, and as a new media owner. That's got to be, you have to have some sort of feeling about that.
It's not something that I turn a blind eye to. I'm acutely aware of the dynamics that are happening in this country, but I can only control so much. And so what I am going to do is, we do have a following and we will cover things that might not always, that's always what the Black press has done, to be honest, right? The Black press has always covered stories through a perspective. When we think about Emmett Till's casket being owned and ran in jet, it wasn't a story that always would be covered, but that is why publications like The Root, that is why publications like Ebony and Jet and Essence have been so critical to make sure that we do have access to a diversity of stories. I think in terms of media writ large, I have a perspective. I get to share that perspective every day on CNN when I go on. I don't feel like my First Amendment rights are being stifled right now. But I also think that what is happening is that there are multiple ways that people are getting media, which is why independent media is so important, right? Like you used to only have 3 TV channels that you watch. Now you have 15 different social media platforms, and algorithms determine what you get. So there has to be an inquiry base from the audience to actually seek out information. But we also, as independent media, have an opportunity then to present the perspectives that we want, which is why I wanted to go and do this acquisition, which is why I want to look at other acquisitions. But it's also why I enjoy being on CNN, is because I get to bring my perspective to that station as often as I like.
Yeah. So in international, it's a huge audience to have, and your perspective is needed there. So so now you're a titan. You're a media titan. So, as again, someone with fresh eyes, as a Black woman, what's your advice to the Ellisons of the world, or the Eisners of the world, or the Zasloffs of the world, or whoever is owning these companies? You have advice for them, because I'm sure they not always hearing your perspective in the boardroom.
I think the advice I would give to anyone, whether you own media or whether you're a politician or whether you're a school teacher, is that the beauty of this country is its diversity, the
Mm.
difference of perspective. No one person is better than another person. And actually having a diverse set of actors in any boardroom, in any classroom, on any news panel is the way to go, because it's what our audiences deserve. It shouldn't be one sided one way or the other. It's what we won't be doing that in our publication. And I say that though to everyone. Whenever I am, my career was in politics. I used to be the coalitions director for the Biden Harris campaign. My whole job was to go out and engage with people from different walks of
Well,
life.
that's what I'm
And
saying. They don't get that advice from you. Have a wealth of knowledge, and so
but it
you
made
can
me
offer
who
some
I
good advice.
am. It made
Yeah.
me who I am. I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. You know, I worked at the White House. I had never been to the White House until Barack Obama had been elected. Working at the White House was something that was wasn't even a figment of my imagination growing up in Youngstown, Ohio. Anything is possible. And so my perspective is valuable, but so is somebody else's perspective that maybe went to the White House every year on a school trip. So there's just the diversity of this country is what makes us strong. It is what makes us beautiful. It's what makes our democracy so sacred. And I would just encourage anyone in any walks of life, in any form of leadership, even as everyday citizens, that that is what we need to get back to and engage in with, and that is how you can make the best decisions.
Yeah, and look, and that's an important thing that you're saying, because diversity, equity, and inclusion right now is, folks who work in the industry and just people are concerned about it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and you understand that.
And yeah, but let me just say this. I think that because The Root is a Black publication that focuses on Black people, there's an assumption that the only people that read it are Black, and that is inaccurate.
That's a
And
great point.
so the reason why, the Black press, something like The Root in a digital format, is because we also want The Root to be a learning opportunity for people. If you're curious about something, that a perspective of how a Black person is viewing one issue or another, and you're not Black, The Root is someplace you can go and learn it, and you can begin and engage in conversation. So while we have a perspective that we lead with, it is an offering to all people to come and learn about the Black experience.
So on October 9th of 2026, when I interview Ashley Allison, what is going to have transpired? What else will you have acquired? What acquisitions will you have acquired? And where do you see yourself? Just a year from now.
A year from now. Well, I'm ambitious, if you hadn't noticed. I think a year from now, look, I told my team this year before the year closed that I wanted an acquisition, and here we are. They thought I was crazy, but here we are. I think I would love to have another acquisition under my belt. I'm not sure what it is. I'm having some conversations, but I'm not sure what it is. So definitely another property under the Watering Hole Media belt. I think that we would love to have expanded our audience. We would love to have sustained the viewership that we have now, but to expand it, and that when people read it, The Root, they feel informed, they feel
Mhm.
hopeful, they understand struggle, but they also know joy is possible. And we will be in 2026, it'll be right before the midterm elections. And so while we will not be endorsing candidates at this point, we will be informing our readers about the races that are happening and what they need to know and how they can get engaged, how they can register to vote, how they can get to their polling places, because that is also what I think media should be doing, is keeping people informed so that they can engage in this democracy.
Ashley, from the long time that we worked together, I knew that you were a brilliant woman, but I didn't know that you had this entrepreneurial spirit. And I think you're going to be really successful. And I'm so happy and I'm so proud of you.
You know what, Don? I just want to say this to people. I didn't know I had it either. And a dream deferred is not a dream denied. I started Watering Home Media in 2009. It took me 16 years to get to this point, but I was committed to do it. There were times when it totally fizzled out. But for people who are listening, if you have a dream, if you have an aspiration, don't give up on it. That is the possibility of this country, is that a little Black girl from Youngstown, Ohio can now be a media owner. You just have to see it to believe it. And you have to ultimately believe in yourself. Because when we first met, I was just finding my sea legs in this entrepreneurial world. But people believed in me. Surround yourself with people who believe in you and who will encourage you, that will teach you the things that you don't know. But for everybody listening, if you have a dream, big or small, go for it. Do it. Swing. It's worth it.
Nothing more needs to be said. Ashley Allison, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brava, my dear.
Thank you, friend.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.